UFC 277, Pena versus Nunes 2 takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Orion Cosce versus Mathetha. Of course, this is Blood Diamond from CKB, Israel Adesanya's teammate that he's trying to bring up and get into the UFC. Of course, he did not look good in his debut in the promotion, and neither did Orion Cosce. Both guys were undefeated coming into the UFC, and Orion Cosce lost his fight to Philip Rowe. A tough fight to have in your debut, but again, Philip Rowe got him out of there pretty easily in the second round. There was some moments where Cosce would get a takedown, but he just couldn't seem to keep Philip Rowe down, and then Philip Rowe, of course, finished him afterwards. And the problem to me was Orion Cosce seemed to gas out so quickly in that matchup. It's one of those things where I don't even know if I can trust him anymore now. I picked Jeremiah Wells to beat Mathetha in his debut, and it did happen. I didn't think he was going to take him down and ragdoll him on the ground, but I knew he had that option because Jeremiah Wells is a weirdly strong guy for the welterweight division, a massive guy for the welterweight division as well. Orion Cosce can grapple, but is he going to finish Mathetha early on? I don't believe he's going to. I really don't believe he's going to. You look at a lot of CKB guys, they are very good at keeping it on the feet if they are strikers, typically, especially the new guys coming up. And, you know, we've had Dan Hooker, who's been around for a long time, so he's kind of set in his ways. But when you watch other guys come up, they seem to have a really good understanding of keeping things on the feet. And I know Jeremiah Wells, like, it was a bit of a weird moment where he got the takedown, he fell over against a cage, and it must have been very confusing for Blood Diamond. This is his debut in the UFC, and the guys just ran into the cage, fallen over, and now he's got him against a cage in a clinch. I feel as though Orion Cosce and the Cosce brothers in general are just pretty garbage. Now, I don't really like the stand-up of Mathetha too much. He's just a bit weird and unorthodox. But I think he's going to be tough enough to not get finished in the first or second round. And I think if that happens, we could see Orion Cosce start to slow down. So I'm actually going to go with the underdog here of Mathetha, Blood Diamond. And I think I'm going to pick him to win this one by third round finish over Orion Cosce. So I am going to go with Mathetha in his second fight in the UFC. He's shaken off the cobwebs, and I feel as though if he can survive the early rounds, he's got a massive reach advantage, a much better level of stand-up as well. I feel as though he's going to survive early on in some danger, maybe survive a bit of the second as well, start winning towards the end of the second, and then get like a third round finish in a fun scrap start to finish. Mathetha gets it done as an underdog. Moving on up the card, Nicolae Negumereanu versus Ihor Potieria. I'm going to be going with Nicolae Negumereanu. I'm picking another underdog here back-to-back, I've just realised. That's a little bit risky, but either way, I'm going to go with Nicolae Negumereanu. Now, he did not look the best against Kennedy Nzechukwu, but Kennedy Nzechukwu is very good, except sometimes his chin lets him down. Like he did against Daton Young. Of course, Daton Young landed that random elbow, I believe it was, to the forearm of Kennedy Nzechukwu, and then Nzechukwu just couldn't take any more and just fell to the canvas afterwards. I don't know what that was, but I feel as though Nicolae Negumereanu looked good against Kennedy, considering Kennedy just dominated Carl Roberson. Like, he couldn't get takedowns on Nicolae Negumereanu. It was a bit of a scrap on the feet. I think Kennedy did a little bit more, even though Nicolae Negumereanu was the one pushing the pace and stuff like that, which I think is what the judges saw, but they should have seen Nzechukwu as the winner. Ihor Potieria, I'm rooting for him to win. I don't think he should be the favourite. Sure, he's 20-2, but when you look at the quality of his opponents, he beat a guy 11-5, 5-2, and then recently an 8-0 guy. He got the upset, Lucas Soldowski. He was supposed to lose that fight, but he came in and got a first round upset TKO. I just don't know if Lightning's going to strike twice. I really don't. And I feel like the rest of his opponents in his career, a split decision to a 17-18 guy, a win over a 5-6 guy, 0-0, 1-9, 0-0, like 1-6, 0-4, 0-2. Like, he's just... It reeks of a guy who just is not ready, in all honesty. And he lost some fights to a 2-2 guy and a 3-2 guy early in his career. Got a win over a 17-17 guy. Like, it just... I don't like it for Ihor Potieria here. I feel like Nicolae Negumereanu has had much tougher tests. I don't see him getting finished by Ihor Potieria. I want Potieria to win because he looks like a Ukrainian McGregor and it could work promotion-wise, but I feel like Nicolae Negumereanu, 27 years of age. It's not like he's an old guy himself. He's only slightly older than Ihor, who's 26. And I feel like he's actually going to be a tough test that won't go away easy. And I reckon he's going to get this one done by unanimous decision, 29-28. Maybe Ihor has some moments early on, goes for a finish, doesn't quite find the finish, and then Nicolae Negumereanu bounces back in the second and third to get it done. We move on to another fight up the card. Yeon Kim versus Joselyne Edwards. I'm going to be going with Yeon Kim here over Joselyne Edwards. Short notice replacement here. There's a lot of those on this card, which is really annoying when it comes to predictions because you have no idea what condition some fighters are going to be in. I guess Joselyne Edwards is ready, but I'm always going to sort of lean in a fight where it's close and you don't really know anyway. Sure, Joselyne Edwards looked okay against Ramona Pascal, but I think Yeon Kim's a lot better, a lot more experienced against better competition than Joselyne Edwards. We've seen what Molly McCann has been doing to lesser competition in the women's flyweight division. This one's at bantamweight though, so it's Yeon Kim, a bigger girl moving up a division. But we've seen that Molly McCann's been putting girls away pretty easily, and the Yeon Kim fight was very close with her, and they went back and forth in the boxing exchanges. Yeon Kim's going to have a reach advantage here as well. And I feel as though, you know, Joselyne Edwards lost to Jessica Rose Clark. I know she's making improvements in her game, but I'm still going to be siding with Yeon Kim here over Joselyne Edwards. It's a risky one to go for. In my opinion, a very risky one to go for. But again, she lost to Carol Rosa. I feel like I'm judging her looking good against Ramona Pascal when in reality, Yeon Kim would look amazing against Ramona Pascal because Yeon Kim can also fight. She's a good boxer. She's young enough to make some improvements as well. She just started training at a new gym too. And I think it's going to work for her. She's on a losing streak. She's going to be hungry. She should have beaten Priscilla Cachoeira. She can get down. She can scrap. And I reckon she'll win this one 29-28. Split decision that finally goes her way. And I feel as though she'll just do a little bit more damage as the fight goes on. Yeah, I'm going to go with Yeon Kim getting this one done. Moving on, up the card, Michael Morales versus Adam Fugitt. I'm going to be going with Michael Morales here over Adam Fugitt. Another short notice replacement, which is somewhat annoying, but at least we're keeping fights on the card, I guess. Michael Morales gets this one done. I was a little bit worried for Michael Morales against Ramiz Brahimaj, but Adam Fugitt, he can grapple, he can strike, he's got some power in his hands. He's taking this one on very short notice. Who knows what kind of condition he's in. He's not a very big guy for the division anyway, so I don't really trust him to win this one. He can grapple. He has out-grappled a few opponents, but I don't think Michael Morales is going to have too much problems there. 13-0, very experienced at a young age. And when you think about things on the feet, there's a chance that maybe Adam Fugitt could catch him in the first round and make something happen there. That's where we've seen a little bit of weakness in Michael Morales' game. But when you look at Michael Morales, he's beaten some decent competition guys. So has Fugitt. He's beaten some good guys as well. He lost a grappling match to Maximov, but Maximov beats a lot of guys in the grappling other than Petrosky. I'm still not over that. I don't know how that happened, but either way. A win over Trevin Giles is a big deal to me, especially by first round TKO. So I feel as though he's going to get a second round finish here against Adam Fugitt. I don't see Fugitt getting a takedown at any point, and I don't see him KOing Morales in the first round because Michael Morales has a 79-inch reach at 6 feet tall. And I think that's going to give him something to hide behind early on against a guy who's definitely going to be aggressive early. So I think we're going to see an over-aggressive Adam Fugitt coming for a finish. Michael Morales weathers the storm, stays safe, lands some good shots at the end of round 1, and finishes him in round 2. Moving on up the card, Drakkar Klose versus Rafa Garcia. I'm going to go with Drakkar Klose. I like Rafa Garcia. I think he's good, but I just don't think he's that level. And I think Drakkar Klose is somewhat of a decent level. Let's not forget he had Benil Dariush hurt all over the place. Was going for a finish there. He looked easily great against Brandon Jenkins. And I know it's Brandon Jenkins, but at the same time, Rafa Garcia just isn't that impressive of an opponent either. But you look at guys like Drakkar Klose. He has wins over Bobby Green, Lando Venata, Christos Giagos, Mark Chikese as well. An older Mark Chikese, of course. I think he'd grapple a lot more if they fought each other again. But I feel like Drakkar Klose is a very underrated guy in the lightweight division. Do I think he's going to go on to be something amazing? No. But do I think Rafa Garcia is somewhat average and mediocre and beat a guy like Natan Levy in a close decision, and then Jesse Ronson's kind of an old man that's done with the sport anyway? Yes. He lost to Chris Gertishmacher. He lost to Nasrat Haqparast. We've seen those guys get schooled by the Bobby Greens and the Dan Hookers of the lightweight division. And I feel as though Drakkar Klose is at that Bobby Green-ish level above the Jim Miller area of the lightweight division. So I feel as though he's going to sort of school Rafa Garcia here and get it done. I see Drakkar Klose having a very good performance and winning this one as the fight goes on. Plus, he was supposed to be fighting Diego Ferreira. Rafa Garcia comes in on short notice. He's not much of a power puncher anyway. I can see Drakkar Klose making this a very difficult fight for him and getting it done let's say decision. I think Rafa Garcia is going to be tough, but I think we're going to see a 30-27 decision for Drakkar Klose. The calf kicks are going to come into play, in my opinion, and I think he wins this one, by decision, 30-27, winning every round. Moving on. Up the card, Don'Tale Mayes versus Hamdy Abdelwahab. Abdelwahab is his name. Hamdy Abdelwahab. I'm going to go with Don'Tale Mayes. Hamdy Abdelwahab. He's an Olympic wrestler, from what I know. He's great at wrestling, but from what I also know, he don't use his wrestling. He just scraps people. And that's a worry to me because Don'Tale Mayes is a very big heavyweight. So even if he were to use his wrestling, I don't know if he'd be able to keep him down or do too much against him in those situations and stuff like that. So I think it's a little bit worrying. He has had some good performances in his career. I just don't see him finishing Don'Tale Mayes. So I could see him taking down Don'Tale Mayes early on. But he's a very big unit for the division. Very muscle-bound guy. Shorter guy for the heavyweight division. Going to be scrapping early on and throwing heat with his hands. And Don'Tale Mayes is very good at staying in the fight and not getting finished. And I feel as though this is a recipe for a Hamdy Abdelwahab having a great first round. Maybe a good start of the second round. And then, oh no, Mayes is landing some knees to the body against the cage and stuffing a couple of the takedowns. And, oh, Mayes is starting to land some leg kicks at range and land some jabs at range as well. Don'Tale Mayes, I think he's quite a talented prospect in the heavyweight division. I think he's pretty good skill-wise compared to the bottom feeder guys at heavyweight. I know a lot of people see him and they saw his record early on and thought this guy's never going to be anything, but I thought he was always going to be something. He beat Rook Martinez, Josh Parisian, not best names whatsoever, but better than anyone that Abdelwahab has beaten, you know what I mean? So he lost to Nascimento, he lost to Cyril Gane. I just don't see Abdelwahab finishing him. I can see him out-grappling him early, but I think in a 3-rounder on short notice as a big stocky heavyweight that's going to be looking for a finish early on, I don't see you finishing Don'Tale Mayes. So I see Don'Tale Mayes using his experience, getting into those later rounds, and maybe getting a 3rd round finish to ground and pound against Hamdy Abdelwahab, who's just completely gassed out in the 3rd. So I'm going to go Don'Tale Mayes by finish. Moving on, up the card, Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves. I'm going to be going with Drew Dober here. Again, it's like a... One guy needs the finish to get a win. One guy's known for not getting finished. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think... If Terence McKinney can't finish Drew Dober in that 1st round with the massive exchange that they had, am I going to be trusting Rafael Alves to do it? Not really. Not really. I don't know if I'm going to be trusting Rafael Alves to do it, I'll be honest with you guys. I like Drew Dober. I like Rafael Alves. Alves is very explosive in the 1st round. I could see him even hurting Drew Dober in a moment, but I just don't see him putting away that Chad jaw of Drew Dober right now. I see Drew Dober toughing out a tough 1st round like he normally has to, and then starting to grow into the fight and stick it on Rafael Alves and fight in that pocket exchange and land good shots to the body and land good shots to the head. And maybe Rafael Alves will be the first guy in a while who's been able to finish Drew Dober, I believe, since Beneil Dariush is the last time I've seen Drew Dober get finished. I'll just double check that. Of course, Makhachev as well, but I'm talking about in a bit more of a scrappy fight. Makhachev just kind of neutralized him on the ground, eventually got a 3rd round submission, and that's a long time for a Makhachev to get a win on top of you. He was on top of Dober for a long time in that fight, and he couldn't really find a finish until the 3rd, and look how quickly he found a finish against Bobby Green and Dan Hooker when he was on top of him. So it speaks to the survivability of Drew Dober. Other than that, he got finished by Aubin Mercier 2016, Beneil Dariush 2019, but typically don't really get finished. And I don't see him getting hurt on the feet here either. I feel like he's going to put his paws right on Rafael Alves, and I think it's going to be a problem for Alves as the fight goes on. Alves is a very good fighter, gave problems to Demiris Magulov early on after a long time off in a comeback, beat Mark Jacasey by submission after rocking him early with a jab. I just don't see him getting that moment where he hurts Drew Dober. So I'm going to side with Drew Dober eventually winning this fight as it goes on. Let's say 29-28, no finish. Just gets it done, loses the 1st round in a tough position, wins the 2nd and 3rd. Drew Dober gets this one done. Moving on to another fight up the card to the headliner of the prelims. Alex Morono versus Matthew Semelsberger. I'm going to be going with Semelsberger. I like Alex Morono, but I feel like at times he's so open to get KO'd. And I think certain fighters with a level of athleticism are always going to be able to do that to him. And we've seen this with Chaos Williams. We even saw this with Perez hurting him at one point in their fight as well. And he's lost other fights earlier in his career. But he's been in the UFC for a long time. Very, very experienced guy. This is by far like the most experienced guy that Semelsberger has taken on. But I saw Semelsberger go toe-to-toe with Chaos Williams in a scrap of a fight. And it was a really great fight. Flatline Sano. Not really looking too much into that one. AJ Fletcher, amazing prospect from ATT. Looking to put the grappling on Matthew Semelsberger. Semelsberger didn't allow it. And also used grappling himself to get certain rounds that he needed to. Flatline Jason Witt. I just feel as though Matthew Semelsberger is a rapidly improving fighter himself. 29 years of age. Still got time to improve. I know Morono's a part-time fighter. He coaches on the sidelines as well. I feel as though Matthew Semelsberger is going to go out there, get into a bit of a scrap with Morono. Morono's going to get a bit overexcited. I know Morono sees me pick against him all the time, and sometimes he proves me wrong. He does prove me wrong at times, but he just made it a little too close against Mickey Gall in certain moments. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't... I see people destroy Mickey Gall, and then I see Alex Morono have a bit of a fun fight with him. You know what I mean? And then I see people destroy Rhys McKee, and I see Alex Morono have a real fun scrap with him over 3 rounds. I think Morono lacks good finishing ability against people not named Donald Cerrone, and I think when you're in a scrap with Semelsberger, he's going to find that moment to land a big shot on you. And I think that's what will happen. I think we'll see like a late first round KO win from Matthew Semelsberger, getting it done against Alex Morono. We move on up the card to the main card. Magomed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith. I do not agree with the odds line whatsoever. I feel as though Anthony Smith is being majorly disrespected. However, picking Ankalaev, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those odds lines where you're like, absolutely disgraceful, but yeah, he's probably going to win. You know what I mean? Like, I feel as though sometimes when there's enough confidence in a guy to win, the odds makers just stretch it to a crazy amount because they don't want you to make money on the favourite, and I think that's what they've done here. I don't think they truly believe he's got like a 5-1 chance to beat Anthony Smith. I just feel as though they believe he's likely going to win. Let's make sure no one can make money on him, basically, is what they've done here. And I feel as though Smith's going to give him some problems. But I feel as though Smith has a level of opponent that he just can't beat at like heavyweight. Like some of these rookie guys coming up that haven't really had the experience yet and haven't really got it down on fight night to where they can be patient and calm. And I think maybe before the Santos fight, I would have maybe liked the Anthony Smith pick a little bit more against Ankalaev. But watching Ankalaev stay patient and calm in the Santos fight over 5 rounds, he got caught with a punch and put down. Fair play. But I just think he's so good at being calm and patient and slowing down the fight and making it a technical battle. And I think he's going to have all the advantages over Anthony Smith in that type of fight. Smith's got to make it a scrap. If he does, Ankalaev's got big power himself. And Smith has taken some damage throughout his career and he could be knocked down, he can be hurt. Ankalaev can be as well. And it's a real tough fight, like it genuinely is. But when you see Smith take on the Rakic's, the Teixeiras, and the other guys of the division that are going to give him that kind of problem, it gets a bit risky for him. Even Ozdemir was giving him loads of problems early on until he pulled out the win in round 3 by submission in a comeback victory. I feel as though I'm going to be going with Magomed Ankalaev here. And I think he's going to win this one 29-28. Maybe Smith's going to come out a little bit fast and switched on, and I spat everywhere there. I think he's going to land some good 1-2s and some jabs, and Ankalaev's going to be a bit shocked by it, and Smith's going to shoot against a cage and knee the thigh a bit and punch a bit and separate, and a couple more big shots land from Smith maybe in the first round. But we see when Smith starts that very quick pace, it does slow down, and Ankalaev is a slow burner of a fighter. He'll build as the fight goes on, and I feel as though Ankalaev's going to get this one done 29-28. His win over Krylov is looking very good in hindsight, watching Krylov completely dismantle Alexander Gustafsson. So although Smith is a decent underdog because of the odds and what they are, he's not a decent underdog in terms of realistically believing he's going to win. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't represent the odds. The odds should be like Ankalaev 2-1 or something like that. But I agree, Ankalaev gets this one done. Good grappling. He's got stuff to resort to, Ankalaev, as well, which is always good to have at light heavyweight. Normally, you've got a guy coming up who does one thing well, Craig, and there's like no other avenue for them to go down. You know what I mean? But Ankalaev, if he doesn't outstrike you, he's got the chance to just put that grappling on you from Dagestan, of course. I'm going to go with Magomed Ankalaev, 29-28, close decision win. And people start thinking, maybe Yuri can beat him, and maybe these other guys can beat him, but not quite the Anthony Smiths of the world. Moving on up the card, Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez. I'm going with Alexandre Pantoja, man. I've been picking this guy for such a long time, and he nearly got it done against Askarov himself and stuff like that, but I feel like Pantoja does not get enough credit, and Alex Perez is good, and the odds are quite close. And I feel like when you look at the Smith versus Ankalaev odds and then look at the Perez versus Pantoja odds, it's the same thing. They should be the same odds, really. I mean, the Ankalaev-Smith odds are completely wrong and too far apart, but Pantoja is so underrated, and I think a lot of it comes down to if Perez beat Formiga in any other way than that calf kick, people wouldn't be giving him as much of a chance, but when people see someone finish someone with a calf kick, they think they're going to do it every single time. But when you watch Perez's fights, he's had a bunch of them cancelled recently. He hasn't fought since 2020, where he lost to Davison Figueiredo for the belt and got choked out immediately in the first round. I think Pantoja is so underrated of a fighter. And Perez has not fought in a long time, and sure, he could be making massive improvements and stuff like that, but I think Pantoja knows with a win here, he secured himself a title shot. He can be the short notice replacement for the next fight and just show up on weigh-in, day-in shape and stuff like that. He's beaten Moreno. He beat Nicolae France. He beat Manel Cap, and that's a great, great win to have. To beat Manel Cap. When Manel Cap was coming in, no one really wanted to take him on, and Pantoja got the win over him. He submitted Brandon Royval, finished him off. Had a tough fight early on. It was a bit scrappy, but put him away and finished him off in round 2. Pantoja's so underrated. One of the most underrated guys. Had a very close fight with Askarov as well, and he was able to do well in the grappling there. I feel like he's got so many options to try and take down Perez, to try and win on the feet as well. He beat Matt Schnell. He lost to Figueiredo, but it was a very close fight that they had, and Figueiredo won it based on some knockdowns at the right time and stuff like that. He beat Wilson Hayes on the come up in his come up of the division. He beat Moreno, of course, in the UFC as well, and he beat some other guys. Like I feel as though he's very underrated, and I like his stand up and I like his grappling, and I think Perez betting on someone to get a finish at flyweight in order to win is often risky. I did it with Nicolae France against Montorin. I said first round KO. Against Cody Garbrandt, I said first round KO. But I consider those opponents chinny opponents. Like I might pick Cara France to KO Schnell in the first round or something like that, you know. But Pantoja's got a solid chin. Rarely gets hurt in fights. Figueiredo broke his hands on him, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to go with Pantoja getting this one done by decision. 29-28. Maybe Perez gets around early on, but once Pantoja eases into it, I think he'll get it done, and I think he'll just start too quick for Perez. He's just got such good distance management on the feet, and I think he's up there with the top-level guys at flyweight. I don't think Perez is there quite yet. Moving on for another fight on the card. Derrick Lewis versus Sergey Pavlovich. I'm going to be going with Sergey Pavlovich, and I'm going to be picking Sergey Pavlovich by first-round KO win. And it hurts to say, and I haven't picked against Derrick Lewis for a while. I picked Derrick Lewis to win his last few fights that he's had. I picked him to beat Taito Ivasa. I picked him to beat Chris Daukaus by first round KO. He got that one done. I didn't pick him to beat Cyril Gane, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Sergey Pavlovich, powerhouse of a man in the heavyweight division. I don't see him getting out grappled by Lewis. This is going to be a stand-up matchup. And Pavlovich has the biggest ape index in the UFC, and that's not a euphemism for anything else. It's just the arm length for height ratio. Sergey Pavlovich is, 6'3", 84 inches of reach, compared to Derrick Lewis' 79. I think he's got good stand-up, a good chin. He can be out-grappled here and there, but he's a powerhouse himself. And I feel as though I think he's just going to catch Derrick Lewis on the chin at least once. And when you're a Volkov, a lighter version of Volkov early on in your career, and you're fighting a guy like Derrick Lewis, when you're a Daukaus and you're fighting a guy like Derrick Lewis, a Latifi, an Olenek, some of these guys that Lewis has been able to beat in his career, it's different than when a big powerhouse like Pavlovich is hitting you with shots. And recently we have seen when Lewis gets hit by good shots, he does wobble and go down a lot more than he used to. And he has been KO'd a lot of times in his career right now. I'll just double check how many times he's been KO'd in his career. He's had 9 losses, 6 by KO. And that's a lot now to start rallying up at heavyweight. And I feel as though Pavlovich, in his hometown as well, Derrick Lewis. He's in Texas. I believe they're in Houston or wherever they are. I don't know where they are, but it's in Texas somewhere. And I feel as though it's going to be a problem for Derrick Lewis in his hometown again, facing a big power puncher, a big guy in the first round as well, with really long arms, catching him out of range and stuff like that. And I can just see Sergey Pavlovich getting a brutal first round KO finish over Derrick Lewis. He's a slight favourite now. I don't think he was to begin with, but I'm going to side with Sergey Pavlovich here, getting this one done. All heavyweight careers come to an end, and Lewis is 37. He's been around for a while. I feel as though Pavlovich gets this one done. And he's active after that last KO loss as well. He fought in February, he got KO'd. Back again. It's tough. Pavlovich wins. Moving on. Up the card, Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara-France. I'm going to be going with Brandon Moreno here over Kai Kara-France. I like Kai Kara-France, but I think there's a level of striker that he can't quite beat. You see a lot of Kai Kara-France skill and high ability coming from guys like Cody Garbrandt, who just was not technical enough to be at flyweight, let alone at bantamweight as well. I never thought Cody Garbrandt was that good of a fighter. I think that Team Alpha Male made a guy to beat Dominic Cruz. They didn't make a guy to be a good fighter or a dominant world champion. He's very open for a lot of shots. He's just a bit more of a physical specimen. So I picked Kara-France to KO him. I picked Kara-France to KO Bontorin. I picked Kara-France to beat Askar Askarov. He can stuff takedowns, and then when he's fighting wrestlers that don't really strike on the feet, he can get the better of them. He's not going to be taking down Moreno. Moreno's not going to be trying to take down him. I like Moreno's change of gym. Get around more flyweights. He's with Tim Elliott. There's a couple other guys that he's with as well. I think he's training with Jeff Molina, True, and a couple of other people. I feel as though Brandon Moreno, new gym, new look, new part of his career, still 28 years of age, looking to make improvements. Sure, he's taken some damage, but so has Kai Kara-France. I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno. And I think he just wins it as the fight goes on. Kai Kara-France throws too much heat in his hands. And as fights go on, he does seem to slow down. He's good when it comes to stuffing takedowns. But if he gets into a scrap with Brandon Moreno, I can see Moreno winning the last 3 rounds of this contest in a very close fight. 48-47 Brandon Moreno. He's got a solid chin. Figueiredo has more power, so if he does land, it's going to be a problem. Kara-France is less power, but he's going to land it more often. But I think there's just that next level power required to put down a guy like Moreno. And I think only Figueiredo possesses it. So, I'm going to go with Moreno winning this one, 48-47. Last 3 rounds to Moreno. First round, Kai Kara-France wins it. Looks good. Maybe puts Moreno off balance with a shot. Second round, Kara-France wins it again and edges it out. Moreno edges out the 3rd round. And Moreno wins the 4th round clear. 5th round, somewhat of a beatdown. Maybe a 48-46 could be seen. But I think 48-47. Last 3 rounds to Brandon Moreno. This is a boxing match. He started implementing more kicks into his game recently as well. And I think he's just going to be too unorthodox for Kai Kara-France to get a grip on. Kai Kara-France beats inadept strikers like Garbrandt that rely on their physicality. And grapplers that have to resort to striking. He don't beat strikers. Even against Howley and Paver, we saw that earlier on. I've seen a trend in Kai Kara-France's career, and I've predicted it right at almost every turn. Moreno's too much on the feet for him. Moving on, up the card, Julianna Pena versus Amanda Nunes. I'm going with Julianna Pena. I picked a few underdogs this card. I think my underdogs on this card have been Nicolae Negumereanu. I picked Mike Mathetha as an underdog as well. I didn't pick too many others as underdogs, but this is one that I trust. Burping in the middle of a prediction video, top level quality. Julianna Pena, you can't make her a massive underdog after what we saw in the last fight, especially because Nunes is no longer at ATT. She's at her own gym. Who's she training with, guys? I have no idea. I don't know who she's training with. Her wife? You know what I mean? I feel as though Nunes just is complacent, and I think Pena, after that last win that she got, this is her time to make money. Nunes has the millions in her career. She's had the pay-per-view shares. She's had the big-time fights to get her set up for life. She's had her kids. Julianna Pena, 32 years of age, doesn't have any of that going on. And I feel as though she just needs to get this one done, get her money in. It's going to double her commitment level to the game. And also something you've got to consider with Julianna Pena. Not only did she win as an underdog, but she won as an underdog coming off a win 11 months before against Sarah McMahon. And then in 2020, she had one fight as well against Jermaine Durandamy. And then she had one fight before that in 2019 against Nico Montano. And then she was off for 2 years. This is the first time in a while we're going to see an active Julianna Pena, and by active I mean once every 7 months, which still isn't too active, but I think we're going to see the best version of her here, and she's coming into her prime. And there's like a massive part of why Nunes beats women, not like John Jones does, but like a massive part of why Nunes defeats her female opponents in the cage in regulated rule sets of MMA is because they fear her. We saw this with Megan Anderson. We've seen this with many opponents of Nunes. They're too scared to engage. Pena's got a solid chin. I mean, just look at the thing. It's massive, okay? She's got a solid chin. She knows she's got a good chin, so she knows she can scrap with Nunes. And Nunes is a girl who wants to get you out of there, and she fights to get people out of there. And if you can tough it out and give her something to worry about back, you can start massively building up her heart rate, making her more and more tired. And I think we're going to see a 3rd or 4th round finish from Julianna Pena. Nunes starts real strong, wins the 1st round, edges out a 2nd round after being on the ground on top and landing some shots, escaping a couple of submission positions. They get into a scrap in round 3. It starts getting interesting. Nunes is gassing a bit. Pena's pushing more in the 4th, and she gets a similar finish. I think it's going to be a rear naked choke again. So I'm going to go round 4. Nunes lasts a little bit longer by being a bit more patient early on, but the inevitability will be that Pena will take the shots and Nunes will get worried when she can't put her away, and then Pena will start landing her own shots and put Nunes away. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Those are my predictions. Click that button up there. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. You got to take Pena at these odds. These aren't the odds. It should not be the odds. You got to take it. It's close. 50-50. I'm leaning Pena. Look at the odds. Great underdog. Like and subscribe. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye.